Mixtape Monday.
Next to each other. Party on, dudes!
Next, party on!
Party on, Wayne!
Party on, guys.
All right, what is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Mixtape Mondays. How's everybody doing? We got a good panel going tonight. I'm really excited about tonight's topic.
You have an amazing panel.
Doing great. This is a weird one. I love it.
Yeah.
Panel or movie?
Maybe a bit of both.
Of people, and then
Yeah, I think we could define it as both.
This is a great group. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, so just real quick, looks like we've got Max in the chat. What's up, Max? Thanks for popping in. And before we get started on our topic, also, I do believe we have a birthday in the house that I know Roman didn't want me to make a big thing out of, but, well, here we are. So our resident Roman of the Empire here, it is his birthday today, and for that, I have this.
Today is my 111th birthday. I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
So, cheers, buddy.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So how ancient are you? Are you 11 years old today?
I'm 11. I'm 11.
What's funny about this whole thing? You're saying that he doesn't want to make a big deal of it, but he won't shut up about it. But for the last 2 weeks, it's been nothing but it's my birthday coming up, guys.
I know this guy.
And the packages haven't arrived yet, and don't think I haven't noticed.
Well played.
Yeah, mine's got a lot of white powder around it, so
Yeah.
you'll know which one's mine.
Careful with flaccid in packages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is
he
it
was very interested. He was very interested in the fan on Roman's junk.
Yeah, as soon as I come in backstage, Roman's talking about how he needs a fan like right up against his junk. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is my kind of show. I'm excited to be here. I hope we derail the conversation into that more talk than what we have
right from that.
planned.
So I did actually. I got one clever item. My friend Wendy, to share, made me a this cheese board with my logo on, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Wait, how do I? Oh, I don't know how to.
It's okay. I think they can see it. They get the idea. It's a cheese board with the Roman of the Empire logo on it. So I was trying to help.
Wait, put it up again. I figured it out.
Nice.
That's so cool.
So yeah, and then we drank a lot, and then I fell asleep listening to Queen while I was on the couch.
What's wrong with that?
Like a good night.
Wow. So that cheese board can be used to slice up any sort of commentary as well, right? It's a cheese board, so.
Oh, well played, Stephen. Well played. So.
All right. So
let's get to it.
Let's get into it. All right. So yeah, our topic of the night. I think Roman and I were talking about this maybe about a week ago, and we thought it would be fun to talk about the Christopher Nolan movie. Wait, there we go. Memento. I actually think it was his first full-length feature film. Came out in 2000. When I was initially looking up information and facts about this, I must have imagined it at some point. I thought I remember reading somewhere once that he pitched this movie at an independent film festival with the goal of trying to secure funding to make Batman Begins. I couldn't actually find any real articles to back that up, so I probably just made that up. But that was that.
Buddy.
But yeah, it's if you guys know anything about Christopher Nolan, I mean, he's now known for the Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale, movies like Inception, Interstellar, like big budget movies that he filmed with IMAX cameras. But this movie is so brilliant because it was so incredibly low budget. It was filmed quickly. It's like they just got a couple of cameras and probably spent most of their money on the casting and threw it together. But the story and the way it's edited together, I think, was so brilliant that I
think the cast is pretty amazing too, because it's a very small casted film. I mean, there's really only 4 people you see for any amount of time, and they really got their money out of them, however much they spent. But it was I loved everybody in the movie. Even the freaking hotel clerk was an interesting character.
Yeah, which actually he's popped up in some other Nolan movies as well. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
It's interesting to note too that Moss and Cypher there, they're almost pre-casted. I mean, the 3 main members of the cast, we got him coming off of Time Machine, right? We got her coming off of The Matrix, right alongside of her nemesis in The Matrix. So they're almost preloaded to be a certain caricature of themselves, and yet we're in this weird backwards universe moving forward in the storyline, and you're suspicious of him before you're suspicious of her, which is in favor of the plot.
Yeah,
actually, interestingly, I read that. I read that Carrie-Anne Moss is actually the reason why he got cast in the movie as well, because they had already worked together on The Matrix. Nolan cast Carrie-Anne Moss. She'd gotten to be friends with, and I'm probably going to butcher his last name, but Joe Pantoliano, something like that.
Yeah,
Pantoliano.
They had gotten to be friends during filming of The Matrix, which kind of funny because, as you're saying in the movie, it was their nemesis. But she was actually the one that was like, hey, like you should cast this guy to be, this character. So that's actually kind of the reason that they both came to be in this movie.
Yeah. And it was, it's almost stunt casting at that point.
Well, he plays himself. Joe does basically in every movie. Does he even act?
You're right. You're right. You know what? But he does a better version of it, because I've talked about this before, and actually with you guys, I think, talking about Ryan Gosling.
Oh yeah.
Ryan Gosling,
Canadian.
Who was in God, forgive my brain. I'm 111 in Blade Runner.
Words are hard.
20.
Ryan Gosling.
Is that Ryan Gosling? So he plays himself in every movie, except his version of himself isn't very interesting. Whereas Joe Pantoliano, at least he's animated, he's funny, he's not a piece of wood.
Yeah, he's a great character actor, and you love to hate this guy. He's so sleazy too. I love him, and he's in Sopranos for a few seasons. And
it's Ralphie.
Ralphie.
I was so happy when he died.
Well, spoiler alert for Sopranos, been out for like 20 years, but yeah, no, it's great. And he tries to cover up that he's bald too in there, and it's so funny how it comes out that he's not. And I wonder if he's actually. It looks like his hair is kind of going in this as well. But it's not nearly as bad as later on. I don't think so. Sure. But he's just a great actor. He's like almost Paul Giamatti-esque, where they are just the side character, but they chew up every scene. They're great to support the main actor, because like you said, even though Guy Pearce is a way better actor than Ryan Gosling, Guy Pearce's acting in this is great, but it's not like he's a I don't know, some brand new person. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like he's playing I'm trying to think, like a main actor that needs a bunch of like chops to perform it. He just kind of like aimlessly like, what am I doing here? What am I doing now? So
you know who he reminded me of in this? He reminded me not Joe Pantoliano, but Guy Pearce. He reminded me of a younger Val Kilmer, which I thought was a little bit weird. Yeah. But just watching the performance and just his mannerisms and his just what he was doing, I was like, he that's what he was reminding me of.
Less of a prick.
Would you say less cancer? Wow, dude, Zach, that is too soon, dude.
Too soon.
Zax, unsub to Zax. That kind of comment right there. Not on this show, dude.
Blessed Phoenix, he loves that stuff.
Wow.
What, the unsub? That's definitely a trend with the unsubbing going on.
Unsub to me
That's
if you like Val Kilmer.
If I
So it
like
looks
Val
we've
Kilmer,
actually got the MV penis in the chat.
Sweet
which,
mother of God.
Has anyone ever actually figured out who this is yet?
I'm in my birthday suit.
I think it's Max, is it not?
Yeah, I
Please,
assumed it was the Max's penis.
It has a mind of its own,
Oh,
and it's still in college.
Oh man.
oh my goodness.
well, you know what?
Penis.
I was gonna say, like, non-linear storytelling isn't always done right, and I feel like it's such a lazy thing to do when you're just like, I'm gonna tell the story in reverse order, and you're like, okay, this is just a stupid plot, but you're just trying to make it seem interesting because I don't know all the parts. This is actually an interesting story told in reverse, non-linearly.
Yes.
That actually works perfectly throughout it. So I feel like so many people tried to like kind of reach the greatness this movie actually created.
And it's a very simple story, but the way that it is presented to the audience makes it so fascinating. That was just a brilliant stroke from Nolan to do it this way. If it were just a straight up story, it would have been fine. But the way that it's edited makes it fantastic.
Well, yeah, because it's basically a murder mystery, whodunit type of thing or something. But the fact that the main character has this, what are they called, like the anterograde memory loss, where it's like he can hold on to his old memories from before the head injury, but he can't make any new memories. They're putting you in the shoes of the main character. So it's like when you watch a scene, you don't know what just happened before, and then it goes back and it shows you, but then you don't know what happened before. So it's literally like you're looking at it from the perspective of the main character and why he can't remember past,
if you haven't seen this movie before, we are going to talk about spoilers because there's no way to talk about this movie.
It's 22 years old,
and not for spoilers. Dude, I just saw it for the first time last week.
Well,
what?
You're a loser, so
I know,
Roman.
I know,
for shame.
I
know.
I love this movie. It's great.
Wait, hold on. I have a clip for that too, Roman.
No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
Yeah. I think you were watching too much Gilmore Girls back in the day.
Oh, he looks like a Gilmore Girls guy.
He does. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of films that have come out since this, but I think Shutter Island, if any of you are familiar, is probably the best.
I have not seen that one.
Yeah, it's good.
But it also takes the psychological angle where the main character, spoiler alert, but it is a similar plot device. But it's a genius move on Nolan's part. Had he never done another film that was dimensionally plot driven, this would make less sense. But this is a great out of the gate, out in front of the crowd, almost like I said with the stunt casting. It's a shocking thing. It gets everybody talking immediately. It's a brilliant idea for a first film. Very art house, but it's a cop drama, so it's not art house at the same time. It's a really smart move on his part. I'm sure luck had a lot to do with it, but still a genius move on his part to do that. It's contrary.
And I think looking back on this, I mean, this came out in 2000, but contrary to kind of, what everyone is complaining about with a lot of entertainment now, is that a lot of stuff out there now is so focused on, this thing or that thing, and they're not really writing good stories anymore. This movie, first and foremost, was based on a good story. I mean, it's, again, I already said it's incredibly low budget. There's no special effects. There's no big explosions. There's no nothing. It was just a good story, which I think is what a lot of Hollywood is lacking now.
Hell, just the Sammy Jenkins character and that sub story within the story was really interesting to watch, and how that ended up concluding.
Yeah, and they said actually that
was
actor, all those scenes were
great.
improv. They just kind of gave him a direction, but he like improved all of those scenes. And interestingly enough, I didn't really realize until there's a special edition version of this DVD that at this point you have to dig up on like eBay or something. But I found one a while back, and it has an option in there. You have to solve puzzles and go through weird menus and shit, but you can find an option where it actually plays the movie in chronological order. So until that moment, I had never put together the fact that the black and white scenes are actually playing in forward motion in chronological order versus the color scenes that are playing backwards, and they meet up at the end / beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I've heard that was an option, one of the releases. I've never seen that though.
Yeah, it's like the special edition DVD that's kind of hard to find, and even once you find it, finding that menu option is like you have to Google how to do it. Oh yeah. I shaved. Max noticed.
Actually, while Max is here,
but
I wanted to ask. We're talking about memory holes, and Max and Flaccid is here. And from what I've heard of your trip to San Diego, Max has come back with some memory holes and maybe some other holes.
I think he's saying. I think it was a spelling error or like an auto correct, because it wasn't a memory hole. It was monkey pox that he's filled with. We all were in Hillcrest. All four of us. John, Roman, me.
It was North Park.
I mean, dude, you think they think monkeypox has borders on it?
Oh God, that explains so much.
Yeah.
We can make our own not as good version of Memento from that.
Oh, that's true. I was trying to man that hole in that back bathroom.
Oh God, I'm so glad I didn't use the bathroom at that bar.
Yeah, I was trying to take myself out, but Max would not take a hint, even though I was screaming for him. Well, one of the bar scenes in this movie was just so weird to me. I didn't remember this, and I was like on the rewatch. I was kind of like, this is kind of weird. Where they get the guy to spit in the beer beforehand. I was like, oh, that's so gross. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's when it really started. That's what for me as a viewer. That's when you really started. That left turn was really starting to kick in, and your perception of each character starts to change because everything's kind of on course for a little bit, and then it goes this way, and it just continues to go that way until you get to the end of the movie. You're like, sweet mother of God! And then you realize what's happened.
Right. In this movie, like, what would you consider it? I think it's not neo-noir, but it's like that, right? Because I guess it'd be neo-noir.
Yeah,
I mean, I
kind
think
of like
had
that Tom
aspects of it.
Cruise film where he plays like a hitman, and he's in the car with Jamie Foxx.
Collateral.
Yeah,
Collateral. That's also, I think, it's kind of weird because it plays with light on purpose. Like the color grading on that film is very specific to that property. So yeah, I think that they're both in that vein of neo-noir, where they're not really doing the light and shade thing the old-fashioned way, but they're playing with it nonetheless.
The locations too on here felt so real. I don't know about you guys, when I used to live in
like
California. Yeah, I was like, this feels like California right here, like driving around, and I was like, this doesn't feel like some nice location shots. It just felt very grounded and gritty.
Yeah, it
not
was
in the volume.
A lot of it, if not all of it, was filmed like on site. And I remember reading one thing, looking up, getting ready for the stream, that Christopher Nolan chose the motel that he did for the movie because he said the layout of the motel was so strange. Basically saying like if MC Escher had ever designed a motel, that would have been it. And that's one where I'll have to go back and like rewatch and kind of pay attention, because I mean, you watch it and you think, oh, it's just a motel, it's whatever. But apparently he thought that the layout was really strange, and that was why he picked that location.
Well, that would offer him some flexibility with setting up shots as well, because that kind of disorientation is what they build into sets on purpose, so that you could film from multiple angles and it feels like different locations just because.
Yeah. Which is what he started doing a lot when he did the Batman trilogy. They got a soundstage that could hold water. So like when they built the Batcave and like there's the water and the stuff would come up out of the ground and whatever, they built the Batcave 360 degrees all the way around so that they could film in any angle, any direction, anything. Like they built a freaking Batcave.
I'd like to build a Batcave. But Mrs. of the Empire is already irritated with what I have out here, so I suspect that might be a bit too much for her.
Could you at least get a portable air conditioner out there?
Oh yeah.
You
don't just have a fan on your junk?
No, I'm literally in. This is my garage, and I'm in Southern California, and it's 9,000 degrees outside. So subsequently, the garage, it's like the Easy Bake Oven, and I'm the cookie. There had to be a better way to say that. That sounded a little peculiar now that I actually articulated it that way, and I wish I hadn't, but it's already there. So what I wanted to talk about
and save that clip.
Yeah.
God damn it. My favorite scene in the movie, I think I really like the scene with Dobbs, and when he has the bottle of whiskey and he's like, I don't feel drunk. Because he's sitting in the bathroom, he's trying to get, and he's lost it already.
Yes.
He's trying to figure out why he's in there. I just thought that from start to finish, and he decides he's going to take a shower, and then it's like everything just falls apart so fast. I loved that scene.
Well, even like before that, where he gets into the room to get the jump on him, and when it kind of comes together, like the beginning of that scene, where he's like, "I'm going to get the jump on this guy." Also, he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to kind of hide in the bathroom," and then as he's like sitting there, that's when your part starts. He's like, "I don't feel drunk. I think I'm going to take a shower."
Or the part where it's like it shows him running, and he's like, I'm running. I'm chasing this guy," and he's like, "Oh wait, he's chasing me."
He's chasing me.
I love that scene. The chasing scene was amazing. That's so good.
It feels like some concepts like this could either be a very serious, like this movie is, or a hilarious buddy cop premise, doesn't it? Like when at certain moments in there, I was like, "Oh, dude, if Joe and Guy Pearce were
Jonah Hill or something," like
right? Yeah, you're like, "Oh, he's the greatest detective, but he just doesn't remember what just happened." You know, like they have to be on the case. You know, like it just seems like one of a great premise to set up. But here it's played for like straight, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't get a lot more grim than. I mean, he keeps having the memory of his wife in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And that's just some dark stuff. And the more you get out of that, it doesn't really get better until you hop to the end and you actually get a complete change of perspective on the entire scene, or at least you think you do.
Right.
Which is what a lot of this movie ends up being, is what you think happened.
Right.
Which Nolan has become famous for, which I think we had talked before about the end of Inception, where he leaves it up to the audience to kind of decide. So with this movie, again, spoiler alerts, 22-year-old spoiler alerts, the idea that it's like, did he make up the Sammy Jenkins thing, or was it really about him? Did he like that whole thing of like, did that guy ever exist, or did Leonard make it up? Like
I think that one of the things I like about this film was I don't know how they did it, and maybe someone else here might know. Steven Ransom seems to know a lot about film. So first of all, I want to pretend everything he says that's what I said. But what I thought was the memory loss aspect, how you could really feel the tension of him trying to hold on to it. And it was like almost a physical performance with him trying to keep that memory long enough to write it down or whatever he had to do. And it was a real fight. And I don't know how they did that or made it feel that way, but you feel that battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scene with Natalie, and when you see the first part of that, when you just come in and he's trying to find something and he doesn't, and then he loses and he doesn't know why, and then she comes in with the bloody lip and sells him the story. But that the next scene where you see what actually happens and him trying to remember those moments. Yeah, that it is a physical performance. You can feel the memory leaving him and him struggling to hang on to that little bit just long enough, and then it's gone.
Yeah, and they use a lot of the R word in this movie, which I don't know how YouTube feels about it or you about your channel, but they go right to his face and they just kept saying it over and over again. And I was like, yeah, that really shows what era it's in. That that word was in vogue, right?
when you watch stuff and you're like, ooh, can't say that anymore. It's like, well, really, you can. You might get some flack for it.
Right. Or like mainstream Hollywood, you don't say anymore. I say it all the time. I don't care. But I'm saying like they would not do that nowadays. If this movie was made today, that was one of the things I think would be definitely changed, along with insert whatever agenda into it as well.
Yeah,
Right.
well, the cast would all be swapped for more relevant and up-to-date actors,
more,
I'm sure.
Diversity and
Yeah. The R word we're talking about is mentally deficient?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know what
I
the rules
used
are on it.
for John whenever we're together, and he looks at me. Now I didn't see Memento. I get it. I get it. But when we're talking about movies like, let's say The Road Warrior, do it, say it. That's things like that. So he gets that word used at him on the back porch from his mean dad.
yeah. Well, here's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
You guys got to be careful because this might turn into a Mel stream if you keep that talk up.
Yeah, be careful. I think me and Kyle are the ones that are always down to have a Mel stream. Just let's talk about Mel Gibson a little bit. 3 hours later.
Yep. That's right. I love that guy.
I think this movie also has like some sort of deeper meaning in it that I didn't think I caught because I rewatched it for this stream. And when I watched it, I was like, wow, that was really good. Just kind of plot the whole way through. But the greater story of this whole movie is like the lies we tell ourselves, become our reality at some point, and what we do to manipulate our past. That way we have purpose, or, we fix our like mistakes in life. And like the end, he wants purpose still, even though his wife's dead, and wants to have that feeling, even though he kind of knows. He's like, I think at the end he knows he killed the guy, but he's like, I just don't want to give this up, I guess. Right.
Yeah. And again, I think that was another one of those moments where they kind of leave it up to the viewer to be like, is he gonna continue this on just so that he has a purpose, or did it really happen? Did he forget to write it down? Is there no tattoo to remind him? Like,
right.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, Don, that the film's deeper thread is definitely having to do with reality is a construct that is founded on our memories. And because our memories are continuous, we allow ourselves to be deluded by this alleged fiction around us. It's something that's very Buddhist, very Hindu. That the flesh is not the reality. The reality is the agreed memory that the whole society has. That's the only reality, because without those agreements, red is not red, green is not green, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. So this movie is actually exploring that. And we can now, in hindsight, say that we're allowed to explore it because Nolan has explored it. He's explored it with Inception. He's explored it with Tennant. He's explored it with Interstellar. And even Batman, this idea of how founded is a delusion. I mean, is it so well founded that you can become Batman and convince the whole society that Batman is necessary? Even that bears some resemblance to this thread. But I think that's definitely the deeper meaning.
Yeah, definitely. Just real quick, got Devin in the chat. What's up, buddy? Thanks for stopping in. But no, yeah, you bring up a lot of good points in that this is like a recurring theme in a lot of Christopher Nolan movies. It's sort of like a man trying to find his purpose, whether he's lying to himself about what his purpose is or actually really trying to find it. The whole thing with Inception and him reconciling with his wife's death and trying to get back to his kids. Like you said, with Batman and him trying to justify this, vigilante lifestyle that he's taking on, and then he's unable to have normal relationships with other human beings. Interstellar and the whole thing, where he's going and trying to save the world for his family, but then by doing that, he's away from his family for whatever, and that whole plot line. So yeah, it's like a very much a recurring thing in the Christopher Nolan movies.
Even The Prestige, if you guys have seen that one as well.
Oh, I love that movie. That's another one that Roman hasn't seen.
Oh, Roman. Holy I'm about to unsub from my channel if you're subbed to Roman's channel for this. Yeah, his inability to watch amazing movies. They're so good. Why are you doing this to
clean them out, man. It's like, how many, what, you got like 8,000 subscribers now or something like that? What's going on?
No, I'm saying unsub to me. Keep sub to Roman still. Roman's a good guy. And John here, but unsub to me.
You know, in this film, it's also like it's a self-defense mechanism for him. The things that he ends up doing, self-preservation, yes, but he's constructing his own reality to continue. Without that, he wouldn't have the purpose, and who knows what becomes of you if you don't. Well, what becomes of you is what happened to Sammy Jenkins. Sammy Jenkins is what happens. You have no purpose, so it just all slips away.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you want to go deep for a second, we can talk about how that's a reflection of society, and that if we don't have a big enemy, we run out of battles to fight. We find new battles when we go back through our history and look for other enemies and other evils, and we fight them until we tear each other apart.
Good grief, ain't that the truth? God.
Yeah, we always need an enemy, right? And like nature abhors a vacuum. So something will fill the vacuum for us to desire that. Just like how in today's society, not to go down a tangent, but, you know, like becoming more and more of a secular society. But then like the religious part of our biology needs to be filled as well, right? Our like desire for this. So we'll fill it any way possible. And like, as Zach said, we'll try to find the enemy out there. So we'll even just create it, just turn against people that are actively helping us.
Now. We don't have an enemy right now, not a real one. So what have we done? We've turned on ourselves.
Right.
We within the country, we are our own enemy, which I'm not digging, by the way.
And that will always happen.
Yeah, and to dig that hole a little deeper, Zax, not in a negative sense, dig the hole, but to dig the hole a little deeper into, you know, how deep we can go with this rabbit hole. I don't know how familiar the panel is, or even the chat for that matter, with Don Quixote. The character of Don Quixote, he is tilting at windmills, and now that has become a colloquialism, it's kind of lost some of its meaning. But in the book, he was trying to resurrect an older age by being a representative of that older age. And let me tell you something, man. Some of the celebrities on YouTube are really starting to become like, you know, Don Quixote. It's funny. It's you know, we're creating these arguments and developing these strategies on how to fight these battles that are basically not dragons. They're windmills. The world is shifting, and we're trying to cope with it, and it's strange. It's like it's strange. That book really disturbed me. I listened to it about like maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and like Fahrenheit 451, it was just so relevant to the time period. Definitely worth a re-listen or a first listen if you haven't checked it out. I do not recommend any of the film adaptations because they're all ridiculous and relevant to their own ages, but yeah, we're doing a lot of that these days. We're feeling more and more crazy, and it's almost as if the media is attempting to make us crazy on purpose. It's definitely like that.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to the film, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I was gonna kind of bring it back here because, like Steven's saying, like you have this transition between like a wartime kind of like general to a peacetime. And Roman, you know the total difference here when someone's in garrison versus in the field. There's two different mentalities there, and if someone that can't juggle both or is able to switch off the hats, there, you can clearly tell you're like, okay, this guy is a great, you know, wartime person, but he's not a good garrison. And like we're saying here with who's his name, Guy Pearce's character. Lenny, you know,
Leonard,
he is Leonard. Yeah, he hates Lenny.
My wife
so
called
he,
me that. I hated it.
he becomes this wartime kind of guy. You know, he's going for blood, but then what happens when it's it's not satisfied at the end of the day. You know,
There's
like he
nothing
still
there.
wants to be out there, right? Yeah, he's still wartime, and we also deal with that theme also in The Dark Knight Rises as well when they talk about Commissioner Gordon, and he's a wartime guy going after, like you said, windmills kind of there. So yeah, definitely this is that character right now going after creating his own windmills of John G's in the world.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's really good, Wes. That you're right, because yeah, with the military experience, some people are great in the theater, and then yeah, when they come back, they are a complete effing mess because they don't have the mission. John G is the mission. Without John G, what's he got?
Yeah.
He's got a hole where his memory should be. That's all he has.
And a pain that's not satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah, one would wonder how much of his character, and I wanted to point after this at the actor's performance. What an interesting conundrum for an actor to be in. But in the film, he's created this whole thing that he does. He does the tattoos. He's got his photographs. He writes these notes down. He always carries a pen on him. He has to remind people constantly, which is really ironic that he has to remind anybody, or that he's capable of reminding anybody, which is hysterical. It's funny. I'm not familiar in detail with every bit of dialogue in the film, but is there a moment in here where he remembers something that he shouldn't remember, like remembering his condition?
I don't think so. I think at
I
the
don't believe
end,
so either.
I think at the end when the other guy's trying to convince him that he made up Sammy Jenkins, I think it's like, it was almost, you could kind of see like the physical battle and like how he was acting in that scene, where it was maybe a little bit of, maybe he was physically remembering, but he was trying to be like, no, that's not true. You're lying to me. So there's maybe a hint of him like getting a spark, but then denying it and saying, no, like that's not true. Like I still have to find this guy.
Right, and that goes against exactly what he was saying to, my goodness, I'm forgetting the name. Joe, what's his character? Teddy. He was saying to him in the diner, where he said, we're based off of evidence. I need to see things. I'm an evidence-based guy. And at the end of it, he's way more towards a feeling because, Teddy's giving him all the evidence, telling him everything, showing him everything. And he's just like, doesn't want to see it. So, this guy's just coping at the end. So clearly, he's lying to himself.
But then that's why he also knows that you have to burn the Polaroid pictures, that you can't rip them in half and stuff, so that they're, again, they show that at the end, I guess, / beginning, whatever, where he's like burning one of the photos to be like, oh no, like I don't want to remember this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's beyond that though, because he won't remember what the picture is for. Like when he kills Jimmy, And then with Dobbs, although he doesn't kill Dobbs, he just has because when he brings the picture to Natalie, he's like, who the fuck is Dobbs? He doesn't know why this picture exists. He knows that he took it, and he knows he probably did something, but he doesn't know what.
Yeah.
That's
I thought
interesting.
the whole idea of like putting the tattoos on his body was a really interesting thing too, because he had the Polaroid pictures and he would write notes on the pictures, but then the actual tattoos, like I thought was a really cool aspect that they added to it. Of course, I would think that,
But he doesn't put the tattoos on, does he? Does he put them on himself?
Yes.
I mean, because there's some scenes
he doesn't do
where he's
all
going to tattoo shops, and then there's some where he's in the hotel room, like with the sewing kit from the motel room doing it. Oh, Max hasn't. Okay, so Roman, you were in good company. Max hasn't seen the movie either.
Wow,
what the hell? Max still probably hasn't seen Top Gun, Maverick either.
No,
you're already here, so you've probably heard all our spoilers.
I'm still mad about that. It's because it's a Navy movie. That's why he's biased. He's biased against the Navy.
At whatever point you tune out of this stream, Max, go find the movie Memento and watch it right now. It's only like 90 minutes long and won't take you a lot of time. It's such a great movie.
And
That's
it
another
flies
thing
by.
Apparently,
about
he
this
hates the
movie
Navy.
is its length. It doesn't take 2.5 hours to go
Like
through
90 minutes.
this thing. It gives you it's a succinct story, and I mean you do feel every minute of it just because it's such a great engaging plot line.
Yeah, you're in it. There's
But
no
it didn't-
fluff. Like,
But back in 2000, I mean, you didn't really get your 3-hour movies, which is like the effing standard now, which I'm not digging, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm old. I those minutes are parts of my life I'm not getting back necessarily.
Roman, we got shots fired here, man.
God
Wow.
damn it, Max.
He just hates anything that takes off the ground because he's just a silly little grunt that pulls. He doesn't even pull the string for the artillery. He supervises those who pull the string. So.
Well, you know, with all the arguing and the hate and the back and forth, let's try this one.
You know he's got to the week's end, right? You don't have to be hard asses, do you?
Yeah, it's St. Paddy's Day. Everyone's Irish tonight. Why don't you just pull up a stool and have a drink with us?
And we'll just
There
all
you
have
go.
a drink and hug it out.
Yeah. Do you guys think I want to ask about Christopher Nolan in general? Do you think that he has now completed his arc as a creator and he has to kind of start again? Because he seems to. I love him as a I love him as a director. I'm not putting him down, but some guys when they can do whatever it is they want and put whatever it is they want on whatever screen they want, some people need limitations and assistance to keep the story sort of, I guess I would say, focused. And Memento is very focused. It's 90 minutes. It's perfect length, great film. You move on. Prestige, same idea. But Tennant, I never could get into, and I was a big fan of his, and I want to see it in the theater. I couldn't hear, but the sound was so bad, like I couldn't hardly understand what people were saying. And it was just distracting. And it's something that he probably would have wanted to do. And I'm wondering, does he need to be reined in, would you think? Or should he be allowed to keep going, doing whatever?
Yeah, I think
that's a good point, dude. George Lucas.
Yeah,
George
so
Lucas is
I
one of
did
the best
see-
examples of a good director, creator. When he had free reign, it went to shit.
Oh Lord, I think we would all love to have George Lucas come back to the franchise now.
And Marcia.
But no, I did see the movie Tenet in theaters, and I did think it was good. I bought it on Blu-ray after it came out on physical, but I haven't rewatched it yet. So it was a good movie, and I get what you're saying though about some of the Nolan movies in the theaters, but it can be kind of frustrating, whatever. But I've read stuff about how Christopher Nolan will do this on purpose sometimes, where he will purposely make the score louder than the dialogue because he thinks that the performance that the actors are giving physically and visually maybe is more important than what they're saying. And that's a mixed bag because you kind of need to hear what the hell they're saying to get what's going on. But it is sort of an on-purpose thing. But then the frustrating part is that assholes in the movie theaters will go and ask the employees, be like, "Hey, like the movie's really quiet. Can you turn it up?" So then they turn up the volume, and then when the score comes, like your brain starts bleeding. I saw Interstellar in the theaters, and like somebody went and asked them to turn it up or something. When that like blaring organ score came in during some of those space scenes in Interstellar, like, oh my god, my ears are bleeding right now.
Well, like what Zach's saying there, though, should he be reined in, or is he flying too close to the sun? Like, if you think of the story of Icarus, right, flying too close to the sun. I mean, flying too close to the sun is a cautionary tale whenever you want to survive. Like the goal of Icarus or Icarus and his son is to survive, get out of the tower, right? It's not to be an artist. And to be an artist, you do have to fly close to the sun. You got to shoot high and miss a lot. So I think he should still have his reins off, because I think if his batting average is amazing right now. So you keep putting him up to bat, and sure, he has like an awful at bat. Should we just take him out of the game? No, keep him up there. He's better than everybody else up there right now. And speaking of Icarus, think about the director that did the Eternals. Look at that trash fire. I think I'd rather watch, even though Tennant is, I still haven't seen Tennant, to be honest, but I'd rather watch Tennant than watch Eternals. And that just is like factory, filming at its finest.
Well, I
would
agree with
rather
that.
watch my dog's fecal matter dry in the sun than watch the Eternals.
Let's not let that be the bar.
Yeah, is that like a type of fetish you're opening us up to right now?
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
But like, would Tennant have
Look
been
at the
better if somebody
website
said,
and find
okay,
out.
hey, Chris, you know what? We have to hear the dialogue a little bit. Like,
Sure,
would that have made a better, would that help?
Yeah, but that's like the perfect like hindsight though. Like they also could have gone back and done this in like Memento, right? Like if you say this exact person, this metaphorical person, Captain Hindsight kind of goes and goes, you know what, to make this more easier for audiences, can we make it all like in color? Like I just don't get why is this one in black and white? They're like, well, it's tell this. And he's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why don't you just have who's his name be Guy Pearce at the beginning? Or you know what I'm saying? Like this little nitpicks that sometimes normies, when they're behind the camera, don't understand like the broader experience that general audiences will get.
True.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that
I
Nolan
mean,
finds his way back because direct like M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep.
Yeah.
He went off the rails and he never really came back. He made some really good movies and then decline started, and even Glass, which I really wanted to like, I really didn't like because I didn't like what he did with those characters that he had created in
Split was
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable
Was the earlier one, yeah.
Unbreakable was the first one, and Split was the second one. And that Split was actually good. He actually did a comeback with Split. He'd made some shit, and then he made Split.
Yeah, he did come back a little bit with those. But my unpopular opinion then is I always say I think The Village is one of his last really great films, which a lot of people hated, but I thought it was great. We've talked about it. You liked it. I've talked to a lot of people that said they didn't like The Village because it wasn't a real monster movie, and I just say, well, then you completely missed the whole point of the story.
You didn't get it.
Maybe.
You probably shouldn't talk to other people about movies if you don't fucking understand what The Village was about.
Yeah, it's like you missed the whole concept. You were just bummed that there wasn't a real monster. Okay, all right.
We're no monster in that movie.
I kind of consider myself a normie, but I can at least pick up on some underlying.
Oh no, we all consider you a normie, John. It's not. It's not
that's
just
fine.
They're similar in that they both have their famous twists. And so for The Village, for me, I only saw it once in the theater a long time ago, so I don't know. But it was I knew the twist right away, so I wasn't as invested because okay, well, this is going to be the twist.
Oh,
you know?
I thought the overall concept was interesting. That it's like that's just like a couple steps away from people actually being able to really go and do that. Yeah. And
there's something very simple about a lot of M. Night's movies. And for me, a big part of cinema is being able to rewatch a film and find deeper meaning, and to really start tearing it apart and, get into the bits and pieces of it, anatomically, so to speak.
Yeah. And Nolan has
M. Night
said
doesn't do that. A lot of his stuff, it's once you've seen the reveal, I would say better than half of his catalog is the movie is almost spoiled.
There's no reason to watch
itself.
it. Yeah, I get that. But
with
Nolan,
Nolan,
on the other hand, he makes his movies for rewatchability.
That's 100% true. Agreed.
And
like you almost have to like go back and be like, how did I missed that cue or how that? So this is another one that, again, Roman hasn't seen, so I'm not going to spoil it, but I thought one of his greater twist endings was The Prestige. So no matter how many times I watch that movie, I'm like, you have to really be paying attention to try to figure that one out.
All right,
I think that's my
the
opinion.
freaking Prestige. I got to watch Snatch like tonight because I got the UK people I got to show with on Wednesday.
Oh, you haven't seen Snatch?
No, I've seen Snatch. I just haven't seen it in such a long time. I literally couldn't tell you anything but dags and pikeys. That's all I remember about Snatch.
Right. Yeah, we're heading into a period right now, we've been in a period right now of about maybe 6 or 7 years where they've been slowly dumbing down the audience.
Yeah.
And it's at this point, it's just
everything to you.
It's this idea of being spoon fed. I mean, just think about the metaphor of the spoon, right? There is no spoon, silver spoon in your mouth, spoon fed. Spooning for comfort. The metaphor is being just shattered into pieces. It's almost contradictory. It's hypocritical actually, because you don't want a society that's spoon fed. You don't want a society that inherits based on the spoon in their mouth. You don't want society like that.
Because then they're weak and easily influenced.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Well, I think one of the things, kind of like what you're saying here, Stephen, is not necessarily that they're like what are pushing people to be mindless. Is more so studios are realizing, hey, I can literally put a turd on the screen and they'll pay millions of dollars. So why should I sweat, put all my blood, sweat, and tears into this film that's going to make the same amount of money as the turd, right? Just hire a big actor, make it a comic book movie, and they'll pay millions of dollars for it. Because for some reason,
are we talking about Thor: Love and Thunder right now?
Well, just like any kind, like any, right? Yeah. Oh, don't get me started with Brie Larson. But I feel like it's more of a reflection on what people will be willing to buy. Just basic capitalism. Like, stop putting that much effort into a product if they're going to buy the lowest version of it. Like, just don't put that much like artist value on it. And I think there is hopefully a renaissance of more of the. I mean, like all the good storytelling stuff right now is not coming from genre films. It's coming from like Better Call Saul or stuff like that, where it's like these more obscure kind of independent properties that have really no bigger, even though Better Call Saul is part of the Breaking Bad, it's not part of like a bigger like tentpole IP that everyone's like, oh, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah. If anyone knows South Park.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And also the budget too. Better Call Saul, maybe you can tell the story because there's not explosions and starships and lightsabers and you're having to fit that in. People just are there to experience the story, and there's not a big jump. Well, maybe that has a bigger budget now for the cast. I don't know, but there's not the weight of having to carry all this production money into it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a relatable human story where you can identify with these characters on a normal life level, not on I'm saving the world level.
Yeah, right. And I always thought that was kind of another one of my unpopular opinions about that. I actually really love his Batman trilogy that he did. And a lot of people said, oh, it's not comic book accurate. It's not this, it's not that. And I saw all of those criticisms, and they're not wrong. Like he very much went off and did his own thing. But what I thought was interesting with the way Nolan did Batman was he did it grounded in a sense of reality of like, this could almost really happen in society. Like he kind of took away a lot of the supernatural abilities of the villains and just was like, no, it's like if the guy had a bunch of money and some dude making gadgets for him, this could happen.
Right.
Yeah, and Daredevil did the same thing. The Netflix Daredevil did exactly the same thing.
Good.
Yes.
They pulled it back and made it very, very grounded, and they even only made the because Frank Miller used to display Daredevil's ability visually on set, visually on the page, and they didn't do that in Daredevil. He explains it once, and that's it. You know, it's like I'm seeing you like fire, basically, because of all the different ambiances coming off of her body. He was able to see her, right? And that's it. That's the only explanation we get ever. And you know, Spidey sense, they do the same kind of thing where it's pulled back so far. But if they're going to do these properties, they need to figure out a way to display those things in real time visually for us and make them as exciting as everything else. But that's what makes those things, that's what makes the Nolan Batman so well accepted, is because you don't need any of that visual nonsense. He's a guy in a suit. He dresses up like a scary character and comes out of the shadows and spooks the bad guys. And the fight scenes are awesome, and that's it. That's it. That's all we really need. And the gals get to see a strong man struggle with his inner turmoil, and that's it. We're done. That's all we needed. That's Batman.
I love Batman Begins.
It's well executed. It's well executed, and the character is well driven. I don't understand.
I appreciate that universe that he made. I do.
Yeah.
I like the grounded universe. Like, and the thing is that like a character like Superman couldn't exist in Christopher Nolan's universe. It doesn't work.
Right.
But you don't. But you also don't need him.
Yeah. Granted. Yeah, because there aren't those forces at work to go against Superman in the Batman universe.
No, because it's real world. It's or essentially real world, or you know.
I just mostly remember I mostly remember like one of the biggest gripes was in the third one and their depiction of how they did Bane, which, okay, yeah, I get it. Like he was very different from the comic book version. However, he still had the intelligence and the physical strength to acquired through different means, but still had the physical strength and the intelligence to where like he did a good job with it. And I thought Tom Hardy did a great job, but that was one where everyone was like, oh, like they ruined Bane. I was like, you mean worse than the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, definitely not.
About that one. That one was so bad. No, it was terrible.
But I would still chalk that one up to production interference more than anything else. I would bet that there was a lot somewhere on the page, Nolan had a very interesting idea about Bane, and it just they weren't going to let it happen. But that movie has so many other issues beyond Bane. Beyond Bane. There's a title for an episode.
Exactly. I know you got to bug out here in just a couple minutes. You got some last thoughts on Memento you want to throw in?
I love it. I've seen it multiple times. I own it. I do not own the version where you can see it, I guess chronologically, but I should probably.
I would recommend trying to look into that. There might even be like a version on YouTube now or something, maybe. But yeah, try to definitely dig that one up. It's really interesting to see it in like the chronological order. I guess in the way it was not intended.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad that it started out as a film that didn't explode right away, and I think so people appreciate it more. And I think it led to excellent films on top of that. And he's one of my favorite directors, so I wasn't putting him down. I just wondering if it's. I would love to see more prestige level stuff from him again, but that's asking a lot of anyone. But
that one was another really great story.
Yeah,
this was a great way for him to start a career. Great casting, a small cast but all talented, and so it was a fantastic film and an original sort of catch to it. So I got some family stuff I got to do, but thank you for having me on, and happy birthday to Roman.
Thanks, brother, and thank you for being here.
Man, thanks so much for joining us. Input. And do you have any like last minute things you want to plug before you take off? I know I've linked your Twitter and YouTube stuff in the description, but anything you want to specifically throw out there before you take off?
You've linked my stuff. That's already professional, dude. Thanks.
Perfect.
I still forget to do that all the time. I'm going to be on Salty Texas East channel tomorrow night, 7 Central, and I'm guesting there. And then Flaccid Phoenix will be on Thursday afternoon or morning-ish, 11 a.m. Central, right, Flaccid?
Yeah. Be on. We're going to be reviewing KGF Chapter 1, the movie one man has been demanding a million times. We will satisfy finally.
And then Thursday evening, I have my own show, and I don't have a theme for it yet, but I'll have one by tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I love the last minute themes ideas.
Yeah, we are the Zax's pre-show. That's the way.
Yes, yeah. But I watch you guys leading up to when I have to go to start my own show. So your show.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. We appreciate you for jumping in, brother. It's always good to have you in the chat, and especially now, good to have you finally on the channel and really, talking. Not quite in person, but closer than in chat.
Yeah, no, I very much appreciate it. Good stuff, guys.
Yeah,
and always a pleasure.
Cheers.
Zax.
And Stephen Ransom, glad to see you, dude.
I'm around.
Good night.
Cool.
See ya.
All right. Cheers.
But yeah, to kind of get back Canadian? Into. Oh my goodness.
And just like that.
As soon as the door clicks.
You know what I was going to say? Does it bother you at all, the organization of his tattoos? Like, I'm not a big OCD guy, but I'm like, dude, come on. Just have, first off, lower. Some organization. Also, maybe lower the rape and murder tattoo from your chest a little lower, like right on your chest. Like, I hope no one my shirt doesn't slip off and they can see rape and murder on my chest.
Well, but the thing is, too, though, it's written backwards so he can see it in the mirror.
Right.
But not all his tattoos are right either, is the problem. He writes what he thinks are facts.
Right.
When in fact, not so much.
Yeah. He's writing down what he thinks is evidence. Right? That's the conversation they have.
But he's putting putting wrong things because he doesn't know it's wrong, but it's wrong.
Yeah.
And those are the things he has listed as facts, but they are not actually facts.
So I think some of them are, right? Because he's saying the John G one, and then at that point you saw the John G says or Jimmy, and that's where I think who's his name, Teddy, is now influencing him to turn on another guy.
Yeah,
says,
he
maybe
wants someone to kill Jimmy. Because
so like all of them are right up until that point.
They're starting to use him as like a hitman, basically, of like, oh, here, go get this guy. Like,
right.
And then the license. Okay, I don't know how he gets past the license plate one after he's gotten this one. On his, he's like, the license plate's this number. I guess he just add a new license plate number eventually when he realizes this is going to be a dead end for him. Don't you want a sequel to this movie? See where he goes.
Oh, Lord.
What the fuck?
So actually, I did also have it in my notes here that the last I read or really heard anything about this was like 2018. So I'm actually kind of hoping it's dead. But there was talk for a while there that there's going to be a remake. Somebody was going to remake this movie.
Why?
The rumor started out in like 2015, and then we're going to remake, but we're going to quote stay true to the Christopher Nolan vision and deliver a memorable movie that is every bit as edgy, iconic, and award-worthy as the original.
No, it would be shit.
The note I have
says fucking wreck it.
The note that I have says, as of 2018, the film was still in the works, but here we are another 4 years later. So I'm really hoping the remake idea I'm really hoping it's dead. But there was some solid talk there for a while that some movie studio is like, we're going to remake this. And like, they're just going to add a bunch of like CGI and big name actors and
they're going to manage to,
and especially now they're going
to
just cast for diversity and inclusion and this and that and the other.
Isn't it Warner Brothers?
Interestingly, actually, no. So this, I had another thing pulled up here too about the newest film that Nolan's working on. But they say that this new one he's working on will be his first film to not be distributed by Warner Brothers since Memento. Memento was distributed by, let's see.
Yes, I know after this one he did Insomnia, which is a remake of a Swedish film, I think.
Which I thought was interesting. Anything where Robin Williams is not a comedian is always interesting.
He was not a good guy.
Oh, spoiler alert. Come on.
Oh, come on, man.
It's an ancient
Memento,
movie. I'm like the only person who hadn't seen Memento in the history of the planet, except for Max.
I know.
Memento was distributed by New Market.
Okay.
Whoever they are.
Right. Yeah, right. But then, so I pulled this one up too, because we were kind of talking about like, does Nolan need to be reined in a little bit, or maybe kind of like he has a little bit in recent years turned more towards actual historic topics. Like he had his movie Dunkirk that showed aspects of World War II from the English side of things. His next one that he's just got greenlit and he's working on is a movie called Oppenheimer that's going to be about the father of the atomic bomb, starring Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh. I don't know. Pew. And it's going to be filmed in IMAX, but also all in black and white. Which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, good. I was going to ask.
Murphy is interesting. So he was the Scarecrow in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Right.
So I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. I think this will be good. Oh, Rosie's in here. She's watching three different streams at the same time. Well, thanks for trying to split your time with us. We always appreciate having you here.
We do.
Rosie,
I like that Nolan uses a lot of the same
actors. How did I miss this one? Perfect length. How many times have I wished I had heard that before? Wow, I was dropping the ball and pulling this chat up. He's probably not even in the chat anymore, but well, there it is. Carry on.
So much phallic conversation these days, I swear.
And you love every second of it, Steven. Don't even pretend.
Nah, I don't know. I'm getting a little tired of it, actually. But,
oh, no. You're not going to be on my channel as much.
If it's in your title, it's another story. But if you're just bringing it up to drag people into your friggin' stream, it's getting kind of silly. I don't know.
It just got so weird.
And that's all I have to say about that.
God.
Rosie Gamgee used to be so innocent, watching one stream at a time, kind of chatting, always polite. And now she's 3 streams at the same time. She's like a total YouTuber. Hysterical. Now she's all dressed in leather with like spikes on her heels and stuff like that, right?
I don't think so. Oh Lord!
Like the Invisible Woman.
All right.
He's Max is still just lurking. Yeah.
Did you notice
the same
his
thing that
name?
I'm doing?
Do you notice that Thomas? I think it's Thomas Lennon. His name is the guy from Reno 911. He has like a little cameo in this movie, right? He's one of the guys that's testing. He's testing. Who's the guy?
Larry Jenkins, or not?
Yeah,
Sammy Jenkins.
Sammy Jenkins, yeah, he's testing Sammy, right? He has the mustache. He's like, you picked up the wrong. Stop picking up like it's like electrified. He's like, it's a test. And he's like,
yeah,
fuck off, whatever, right? Yeah, he's also in The Dark Knight Rises as well. He's the doctor when he gets that knee brace on too. So I wonder if he has like some connection with Nolan. But it's such a weird connection because I love Thomas Lennon, whatever stuff he's in. He's just a weird guy.
Well, because Nolan definitely, when he finds actors he likes, he definitely hangs on to them. Like he's cast Michael Caine in a bunch of his movies.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Michael
so he definitely, Christian Bale's been in, he did Batman, Prestige. Yeah, he definitely, like when he finds people that he likes, he definitely likes to reuse those actors.
Yeah, and that says something too about the relationship he gets with his actors, that they're willing to come on with to other roles that have nothing to do with, because like it's like, oh wow, Chris Evans and whoever must have a great relationship. You're like, well, no, he's contractually obligated to be on these projects.
He just wants money,
right? Or like it's like I signed like a 10-picture deal. What am I supposed to say? No, like, but he's able to bring him on, to these other things with them. So that must say something about the experience they have or how much fun or whatever they have on set with him.
Also, he may have very strong relationships with them too, offset, kind of like James Gunn and the guy who played what's his face, Mr. Blueface over there, in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He was in Tremors or something like that. Not Tremors. Yeah, was it Tremors?
Was he in Tremors?
Look up the
I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, no, the guy that played Yondu?
Yeah, that's it.
Michael Rooker. There you go.
Yeah.
Walking Dead.
They've done a bunch of stuff together.
Right. Yep. He has been in a bunch of his movies.
But that says something about the consistency.
Well, and even like talking about like bringing up James Gunn, the amount of solidarity that people had for him when they tried to cancel him for his like decades old tweets, and multiple cast members of Guardians of the Galaxy said, we will do everything we can to get out of our contract if you do not bring him back as the director. Because they're like, we signed on to be in the James Gunn movie. And if you don't have James Gunn, we're going to do whatever we can to get out of this 3-picture deal.
Yeah. We also saw the same thing when people are coming after Chris Pratt. The exact, all the crew also jumped on with him, even though a lot of them don't agree with him. They're like, hey, he's my, like, basically my brother. He's my friend.
He's a good person. They're like, yeah, we don't agree with everything he thinks and says and believes, but he's just a genuinely nice guy. Like, there's nothing bad about him. Like,
yeah. What that also, like, as we're talking about this, makes me question how many relationships in Hollywood are just so fake and awful and toxic potentially that, you just have a bad experience on set and you're like, yeah, a bunch of these people are fakes. And then when you find out like a true, good, pure experience with people, you're like, okay, I like these guys. I'll work with these guys. Even if the movie's not that good, I like these guys and I get paid at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, look at the long-standing relationship of Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. I mean, how many Tim Burton movies has Johnny Depp been in? They obviously are good friends at this point. Like,
right.
Yeah. I was going to bring up Cameron and Schwarzenegger as well. I mean, I know for a fact, being a LA, California guy, that the two of them used to hang out at this place called Patrick's Roadhouse or something like that up on the PCH. And there's literally a chair that says, it's labeled that only Schwarzenegger is allowed to sit in this chair.
Oh, that's funny.
And I asked the staff and the owner, and they told me flat out that they used to come here for breakfast. Like every time they were filming a movie in LA, they would come to that place and have breakfast together and go over the film. Like they'd buy out the whole restaurant and the crew and everybody would hang out. So, those relationships become important because, I mean, God, what's the name of that one spy movie? that he did. Cameron and the one with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, True Lies.
Yeah.
Oh,
True Lies.
Yeah.
You can feel how comfortable everybody is. Everybody is getting their shots. All the direction is on point. Everybody knows the set's going to be on time and perfect. It just you can almost feel it in the presence of the film that everybody knows that this is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like they're having fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And when the cast is,
funny.
you're right. You're right with that. Yeah. When the cast is comfortable with their director, you get a better product.
Yeah.
And you also don't hear the horror stories after the movie.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't start infighting, turning
Right.
each other into the Gestapo.
Right.
Of course, you mentioned a bar there in Los Angeles called Roadhouse. Oh, Roadhouse, the remake that everyone's looking forward to.
Oh,
fuck off.
Mighty.
So
with Jake Gyllenhaal himself.
No!
You know, I don't care
what is
how
it going to
many
be? A
movies
gay bar? Is that what it's going to be? I mean, is that what's going to happen? I mean, just what?
I'm
I
interested
don't
now.
care how many.
Now I'm
I
back
don't care
in.
how many movies Jake Gyllenhaal is in. I cannot see Jake Gyllenhaal as anything but Donnie Darko. He's still just the teenager in Donnie Darko. Like, no matter how many movies he does, I'm like, he's just Donnie Darko.
Oh.
Well, there's that one independent film he did, Jake Gyllenhaal, I mean, where he plays a newscaster, like an independent newscaster. Nightcrawler.
Yeah, Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. I'm sorry.
That
was a weird movie.
Yeah, but he is just on point. I mean, he just shows his chops in that movie so strong. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. They were filming it in and around my neighborhood too.
Ryan Gosling, but no, he did really good in that movie. And I hate Ryan Gosling.
That one movie Drive that Gosling did was another one that was like, holy crap. Like, wow, is it just this one property, or does Gosling actually have some chops? Because he was pretty.
I feel like we need to do a Roman hates Ryan Gosling stream, and you just rant for 2 hours about how much you hate Ryan Gosling.
I could actually do it. Is the unfortunate reality of that.
His stupid smug face.
Plank of effing wood. Do something that resembles an emotion one time.
That's why he was perfect in Blade Runner 2049, because you didn't know if he was a replicant or not.
Yep. That's exactly it.
I still don't. That's the thing.
That's it.
Are we going to learn that Roman had some interaction with Ryan Gosling in real life at some point?
Did you meet him at Comic-Con and he like spit on your shoes or something? Like...
Yeah, because hate is a strong word.
And go back to the hotel room.
Yeah, he promised and just never showed up. He left you on the roof, the roof speculating, pulled a Tony Stark on you.
No.
Oh, wow. Bring it full circle. Guy Pearce, Tony Stark in Memento. There you go, Steven.
Woohoo.
Well played.
Which I actually think in preparation for this stream, I think I read some stuff that Nolan originally wanted a bigger star for his lead role. I think Brad Pitt was actually considered at one point.
Shots interesting.
Yeah, there's shots in here. He looks like just like Brad Pitt, especially from like Ocean's 11, whatever era, early 2000s. He looks just like him.
Yep.
No, and you could see him, and then he would have done fine in the role. I don't think it would have detracted from the film to have Brad Pitt in it. I like him so much better now. I used to hate Brad Pitt. It was like Fight Club. Fight Club was like my Brad Pitt is actually okay film, and I like him now generally. So
they try to pigeonhole these actors, right? They try to make these leading men into like just the like you're saying, the Ryan Gosling, like the no emotions, kind of just I'm the face of everything. But at the end of the day, these guys are actors and they want to flex their chops here. So like you said, as soon as you can get him into a scenario where he doesn't have to play that guy anymore and he can just let loose and actually show what he's got. Yeah, then you kind of like, I do kind of like this guy. That happened with Leonardo DiCaprio as well. I remember growing up being like, yo, this guy's just a pretty boy. I hate Leo. All of a sudden you see, like, holy shit, Leo is great.
Well, and I always remember him too from What's Eating Gilbert Grape. So it's like as he got older and started doing more like serious leading roles, it was like, okay, like you, all right. But no, I got a note here that said for Leonard, he was at one point looking at Brad Pitt, Charlie Sheen. Oh, that would have been bad.
Oh.
Thomas
Oh,
Jane,
God.
or even Aaron Eckhart, which is interesting because then he ended up being in The Dark Knight. But I don't know if I could see Aaron Eckhart in this role.
No.
I like him as an actor, but I don't know about
probably
this
would
one.
have been as good in the role. He's kind of an
Yeah,
odd
he's a
actor,
great actor,
anyway.
but
You don't see him in a lot of stuff. He's been. Actually, I'm one of the 4 people who liked the Battle of Los Angeles. I thought he was really good in that, but I liked that movie just overall. So, like I said,
But I feel like he's another one of those guys, like we were saying earlier, kind of like Guy Pearce, kind of like Joe Pantoliano, where it's like he's sort of one of those guys that's like in a lot of stuff, but you're always like, like what was that one thing?
that
Like
guy,
he's in
yeah.
that one movie. Like
I thought he was good as that Punisher. I thought that Punisher movie that he did was pretty good. I didn't have much issue with it. Of course, a lot of Punisher fans tore it to shreds, but you know, are we talking about the same person now? Nope.
I don't think we
switched
are.
actors.
Aaron Eckhart. Aaron Eckhart.
I'm speaking of Thomas something or other.
Thomas
There you
Jane.
go.
Oh, Thomas Jane. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Aaron
actually, I
Eckhart
liked him in
was,
that role. I didn't like the movie overall, though. I thought he was
Right.
fine, but I didn't like the film
Right.
because he actually did a short independent film where he played the Punisher again. It's on YouTube, and that's pretty cool.
It's something with laundry, right, or something?
Yeah,
I forgot what it's called. Yeah.
It's not just him doing laundry, but yes, there is also laundry.
Yeah, it's funny. We not only pigeonhole some of these actors, but different studios start bringing in actors that resemble them as well.
Right.
Like how many times have we seen almost the same face, like you guys just mentioned? But yeah, to bring it back to DiCaprio, when I first saw Gilbert Grape, I was like, oh, wow, that was an interesting movie. You know, Johnny Depp was pretty cool in that. And where did they get this mentally handicapped kid from? Because he was also really good. And
he did a really good job with the role.
I'm telling you, I was completely tripped out when I saw Johnny Depp, when I saw him play a legitimate role. I was like, oh, wait, he wasn't handicapped? What the hell? It was so goddamn believable, you know. And then you start hearing about the Basketball Diaries, and you're like, okay, I get it. He's an up and coming genius, and we're probably going to be seeing roles from him into his 70s. So the same thing goes for Brad Pitt.
Another good Leo movie, I think it was more of like maybe the late 90s. But have you guys seen Catch Me If You Can?
Yeah, great movie
with Tom Hanks.
That's my goodness, Roman.
That one's based on a true. I know. That one's based on a true story. That one's a little more obscure. I don't feel like that was like as big of a big deal. But yeah, if you come across that one, that's a really great movie. There isn't really any kind of big special twist or anything with the end, but based on a true story. But again, just the story is really compelling and really interesting to watch as like Tom Hanks is, trying to track down.
I would almost go so far as to call it Spielberg's last film.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen anything really Spielbergian since then. That movie is totally Steven Spielberg. It feels like a Spielberg film. It acts like a Spielberg film. The cast, the sets, the storyline, everything about it is very Spielberg. And I know he had his hands in it.
Let's see.
Yeah, I know he directed it.
Oh, it came out in 2002. Right. Okay, I was a little bit off. I thought it came out in the 90s, but it was 2002 that one came out. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
I was so young.
Interesting side point about that movie is that person was real and that he was eventually hired by the same people that hunted him down.
Yep, he was hired by the FBI to find other people like himself.
Yeah, long before we ever started hearing about hackers getting hired after they got incarcerated and so on. And God knows how much the intelligence agency is filled with former criminals.
And there was a 90s TV show for a little while that I think was kind of a similar process. I think it was called The Pretender, where it was this guy who was like a childhood prodigy, super brilliant. And he like grew up in this facility where they're trying to research him. He breaks out as an adult, and it's like every episode he's pretending to be in a different profession. Like he's pretending to be a doctor, but he poses it so well that he pulls it off, or he pretends to be a cop or whatever. So like it was that same sort of thing, like Catch Me If You Can, where it's like he was such a good con artist or so intelligent or so good at pretending to be these other things that he would go and pose as these other roles and no one would question him.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a spin-off.
No, it was just a straight up. No, it was a very different type of.
It was very different because I think the idea with Catch Me If You Can was that he was a really good con artist. The idea with The Pretender was that he was just really, really intelligent. It was a different premise, but it still kind of reminded me of that because of the fact that he could just like jump into like pretending to be some other professional whatever, and he would just like pull it off.
Yeah. It's interesting to see those stories in real life where these people just kind of get into somehow higher institutions by basically just bullshitting their way through it and finding like little loopholes and having either some sort of like charisma that just gets them through the door. And you're like, wow, this guy's just so believing. Like cult leaders have this ability, whatever, where it's like, oh, as soon as I met him face to face, I just had this connection. This guy just hooked me in, and it's one of those weird things where I guess you cannot explain it unless you've actually been there for it. But it's interesting how some of those people go through life, whether it's for whatever they think is just or for selfish reasons. They get into power and stuff like that. So because like that guy, the Catch Me If You Can guy, could have just been a politician, for all the way he's able to like, or a Wall Street guy, but instead he just kind of was like, I'm just bored with whatever I'm doing. I'm going to be a lawyer now. I'm going to be a pilot now. I'm going to be a this now, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of aspects of life sometimes is not actually knowing what you're doing, but being able to just pretend like you know what you're doing and like you belong there.
Fake it till you make it, right?
I think that Mark Twain. Good.
No, I was saying go back to Memento. Remember one of the reasons why he said that he didn't believe Sammy Jenkins was because he thought he saw a look of recognition in his eye, and then he realized it's basically an expectation. People expect you to recognize, and he knew it was
like a primal instinct.
So it's the expectation, which isn't dissimilar in concept to what we're what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I know that Mark Twain and I just had his name, Orson Welles, have both been quoted in saying that you just basically bullshit it. And Orson Welles did that documentary short on the word fake, F is for fake, where he basically lays that all out. He lays out a fake plot line. He lays out a fake story. There's fakeness within fakeness. And it was originally supposed to be a documentary about the Catch Me If You Can guy, but that all fell through. So he just re-edited it to be about this fake storyline instead. So, there's a lot of that in early cinema. If you start reading their biographies, where these people were they had changed their name literally a couple of years before they moved to Hollywood, or they changed their name in Hollywood. And so it's interesting how all of this all came up while we're talking about Memento. That I think.
Like Roman is saying, it's straight on point though. Like with the being fake, and like at the end, Guy Pearce is saying like I look into the mirror, right, and he's giving that expression, I guess, to himself that he recognizes what he sees. Kind of like what he's saying, because the Sammy Jenkins is him, right? By the end of it, we kind of realize Sammy Jenkins. If not Sammy Jenkins,
leave it up to the viewer, but yeah.
If he's not him, he basically can see himself in Sammy now at this point in his life. That the fake it till you make it. Yeah, he just like, hey, someone sees me, they make a face that they recognize me, instead of saying like, excuse me, I don't know who you are. They just go, oh, okay, just to go through the social interaction and not feel uncomfortable.
Well, and I think we kind of went down this rabbit hole a little bit too, because we went into the whole thing of, this is what Hollywood is now, and this is what entertainment has become, where everyone's fake, and it's, so I think there's kind of a parallel. We didn't get too far off course here.
One could almost say that, and I had thought it while we were chatting about it, that one could almost remake this movie as a discussion of that concept. He's an actor and we're watching his career backwards. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of his career, he was a very pleasant person, but now he's a cutthroat killer. So, one could parallel this, and it may even be that the storyline is supposed to be a parallel to this. After all, they're filming in Los Angeles. All three of the main characters are well-known actors at that point in time. And the one person who winds up being like the actual, like real manipulative person, the Kate Moss, she's comes from a movie that's about a false reality. I mean, it's like the layers and layers of it. If it was any other director, I would say it's an accident. But now that we've seen in hindsight where Chris goes with these things, he probably had it in mind while he was filming. He's like, this may not be my idea, but it's certainly in my film for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he does very many things by accident. And this is actually going to lead into kind of one of my final thoughts I had on just Christopher Nolan as a director, is that I think I go so far as to say that I think currently he's one of the last true great filmmakers right now. Because you can make movies, you can crank out Marvel movies, you can crank out Star Wars movies, but to really make a film, like an actual work of art that's a good story, it's visually appealing, audibly with the film score and everything. Christopher Nolan works one project at a time. When he works on a movie, he devotes himself 1,000% fully to it and gives very little details about anything he's working on leading up to it. Like at one point, when he finished The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger and that whole thing, everyone was just like chomping at the bit and clamoring for, well, what's the sequel? What's the next Batman movie? What are you doing next? And he came out and he said, I don't know. It's like, he never had a contract to do 3 Batman movies. They contracted him one at a time. And he said, he's like, I don't know. Right now I'm working on Inception. And for all I know, they could hire on a completely different director to do the next Batman movie. There's no script. There's no contract. There's nothing. Because he's like, this is what I'm focused on right now. And this is what I'm doing. And he talks about, being a kid and growing up, that, going to, as the English say, going to the cinema it was like a big deal. It was a big event. You get the family together, you get all dressed up and whatever. So he wants to make movies that people want to see in theaters. He doesn't believe that his movies are meant to be watched at home on a TV, on Blu-ray, on streaming. He's like, he wants you to go to the theater, go to the cinema and see his movies.
Yeah. That's what Inception was almost like. That was the kernel that he was going for. Like that was the spark that initiated the entire project, was how can I put this on the most gigantic screen possible and make it so that the movie almost doesn't make sense on a TV monitor.
Yeah.
Because it's true. If you haven't seen Inception Interstellar in the theater, then in my opinion, you haven't seen Interstellar yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's actually my favorite Chris Nolan film is Interstellar. I love that movie. Every weird freaking part of it. It's just they're just the other levels of the story beyond the big scope story, the story of the dad, and his relationship with his daughter is a very important part of that film, and that resonated a bit with me.
Yeah.
That's why I liked Inception, is that it basically talks about it's basically the life of a director or a creative person. I think his name's Cobb, the main character, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, that if you get too lost in these worlds we build, sometimes you don't want to leave. And it's basically a story about him and his wife, who's his partner on a lot of these projects he makes, that they go so in depth in there and they sometimes just get lost in that world. And they almost don't want to go back to the mundane reality, which is like the actual reality in that universe. And it feels like you spent an eternity, which was really just a couple minutes down in that lower level in those dreams. And I love a lot of, I think there's some Nolan doesn't always hit right emotionally. There's some things where it's like, I think he did a little better job in Interstellar, but the ideas are there and the concepts are there. I think he's with Tennant, he bites off a little more than he can chew, but I'd rather have it be that than be left thinking like there needs to be something more there. Like, I don't know if anyone's seen The Gray Man on Netflix, but that movie, there was no there to it. It felt like a generic action movie that had some fun to it, but it didn't have this like higher concept of like, there's no hook to it. You know, it just felt like, oh, this is a generic action movie on Netflix with actors, you know, Ryan Gosling, your favorite, Roman.
I would almost go so far as to say that, there was a trade that was developed during the 80s and mostly during the 90s called punching up a script. And you were brought in as a comedian to punch up certain lines. Usually you were brought in as an actor, as a side character, and your lines would be punched up to make your character more interesting or more humorous, right?
Right.
I think at this point in time, we almost need to have another trade developed where an actor comes in and reworks the script to punch it up, like to build the there that Flaccid mentions. Because without that substance, without that undercurrent, without the undertow, I don't see the point of even making most of these properties. I'm sure somebody could go through and just by punching the dialogue up in Eternals, you could completely transform the film and leave all the visual effects in place. Because as far as I'm concerned, most of the time, the art department is never wrong. They're always really, really good. The visuals are always really interesting. But the dialogue is so like just limp. There's nothing there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no big hook in it, like you're saying, right? Like what's hooking you in Eternals? No character, no like awesome action. Because John Wick, I don't know if the characters are all that great, you could say, or the story's all that great, but at least the action like makes up for all of that you're in for that part of it. And even Top Gun Maverick, you know, like, oh, is it that great of performances? No one gives a bad performance. But what it is a fun ride that you can have with these characters that it feels almost nostalgic of that just kind of play by the numbers storytelling, you know, kind of hero's journey a little bit. But it is in a more fun way with these awesome action set pieces. In Memento here, there's no action really in this movie. There's a very little like intensity.
Very little, yeah.
It does have a great hook in it, and the characters are great in it. And I think the underlying kind of message we talked about earlier in this about, you know, lying to yourself and the reality is what you make it around you, or, you know, what you think, like perception is reality kind of, and you can manipulate your perception. If you don't have that in there, this movie isn't amazing. It's just like, oh, that was pretty cool. As a M. Night Shyamalan, like Roman was kind of saying, I was like, yeah, it was cool. It's a cool little trick, but what makes it sustain this long are all those elements of this movie.
Right, which is why Unbreakable is such a rewatchable film, because
that was a good one.
I just want to go quickly roll it back to John Wick. I could almost assume that John and his buddies, or Keanu and his buddies, wanted to just make a good action movie, and then somebody came along and said, let's kill the puppy at the beginning of the film. Because that's all that film needed to make you emotionally invested in the rest of the project. As a matter of fact, in the rest of the quadrilogy.
Everything was totally justified after that.
Yep. It's amazing. You know, so this, you could say the same thing. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, that's all that film needed to give it all the substance it required.
Yeah, totally agree.
And it's such a simple thing. I mean, if you look at it without all the action, it's like, wait, these gangsters kill his puppy and he goes on a friggin' killing spree? I mean, like, if you lay it out, it seems ridiculous.
But it seems also cheap, too. It's like, you know, where, oh, my dog is killed. Then I go on usually it's like the wife, right, is killed. But the wife is killed through cancer, and then they make it the dog, so it's like a double whammy thing where it's not just the dog, but it's the dog his dying wife gave him as a remembrance of me and keep you busy while I'm gone. And that's it almost seems cheap in a way, but it really doesn't matter, because by the time you can kind of think to yourself, you're like, that seemed a little. Oh my God, are you serious? Up there shooting? Oh my! Oh, so you're already an action scene into it before you can even kind of think about how mundane the story is if you just strip it down from all of the action.
Well, and I think sometimes you need movies like that are more simplistic in plot lines and execution, but just act. And like you kept kind of saying, it's like just sort of like a fun action movie or whatever. That immediately made me think of like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. There's no really like deep dark plots that you're super interested in, like where the story's good. Yeah, okay, they're pretty good, but overall Pirates of the Caribbean movies were successful because they were just like fun action movies that you could just kind of put it on and sort of turn your brain off and just enjoy the antics and the whatever. I mean, you go back to like the the old 80s movies, the Schwarzenegger movies, the Stallone movies. Like the world does need movies like that once in a while where it's just action, it's just fun, it's just I recently went back and rewatched because when the new Jackass movie just came out, I went back and rewatched the 1, 2, and 3 Jackass movies, and I thought, how it's going to sound really strange, but it's like how refreshing it was to go back and watch movies where there's no politics, there's no plot, there's no agenda. It was just a bunch of dudes kicking each other in the balls and laughing about it, and I'm like, this is hilarious. Like,
yeah. It scratches an itch that you have there, and sometimes you don't realize you have.
You just need something simple.
Yeah, well, especially like you said, the Jackass series, like there was so much of that going on around then too. After it became such a huge success, that became kind of like, man, I don't care. I don't need to watch this all. You had Tosh.0 and other people put out stuff of other people doing random stuff, and then you're kind of like, yeah. But now going back, you go, oh yeah,
like
I do remember.
Revisit it was like, oh, this is refreshing because everything now it's like there's constantly like something being like shoved down your throat or in your face or whatever, and I'm just gonna turn on a movie that's a bunch of dick jokes now.
Yeah, you just gotta. If someone's being shoved down your throat, just relax the throat. Pro tip right there. Everyone write that down. Just relax the throat.
Yeah, try and swallow. If he's pushing too hard, just try and swallow.
Try to think of something else.
What the fuck? I went away for like a minute. God damn it!
And that was without even a single drop of rum.
Like we were saying about Pirates of the Caribbean, it's like a pulpy like fun, right? It's like cheap. It's kind of like you said, it just takes you on a little adventure, but it's just enough there to keep you going and I don't know, just entertain you for a little bit. And there's some of that even being stripped away from the things that we should think of as kind of more pulpy in our content right now. Where I wish there was something like Pirates of the Caribbean that came out right now that I could just sit back and have fun with. I mean, John Wick, like you said, is kind of like that. I wish there was something more like sci-fi / fantasy, piratey kind of.
It's like funny.
There is
we talked about this. We're still talking about it actually right now. That's what our Thursday show is going to be out. We finish out the decades of our favorite movies. They are making a lot of movies right now, and the movies they are making are not necessarily movies that you want to watch. We get 2 good movies a year now, maybe 3 if we stretch it.
That's being generous.
You used to get a summer full of great movies, and where you could just go in and you were entertained and had a really good time. And now you get a couple a year, maybe.
Yeah. And I think some of it right now, we're kind of experiencing a little bit of the COVID backlog, like things kind of got screwed up with production in that time period. Top Gun was supposed to come out in 2020. Think about that. It's like 2 years delayed.
I'm glad they held it.
I'm glad they waited. I know Nolan wanted to get right out the door with his Tennant. He was like, screw this. Everyone get back to the theaters right now. But
went for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. There's not a lot of great movies coming out there. And I don't think they're just trying to scratch the itch that everyone has that they didn't realize is there. Like you said, Top Gun. I would argue, even though, I almost sound like a parrot now, but RRR does that to a degree where it's just this fun action movie that is just it doesn't feel guilty or apologetic to anything it's trying to do, right? It's not like we can be action centric, but we make sure to fill in every box that needs to be filled in to be politically correct. It's like, no, just tell a story about 2 dudes that are having fun and realize they're fighting for freedom, and it's just awesome. Go see RRR.
And I think it's selling Pirates of the Caribbean a little short, saying that it's just a fun popcorn film, because some of the Warner Brothers level, Bugs Bunny versus the world kind of dialogue that Johnny Depp gets into is what makes it intoxicating for a broader audience. I mean, some of the dialectical hijinks he gets into with guards, where he's just faking people out by telling them the truth and they don't believe him.
Yeah,
that happens right up front. That's right up front in the film. And from then on, it's like, I don't care what happens as long as that guy keeps talking.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's like that's something to say, that it's like I'm not trying to like downplay the success of those movies, but just saying how like we're not gonna sit there and spend 2 hours like dissecting the deeper plot points of a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Like, yes, they were well written, well filmed, well cast, everything. Like they're great movies. There's a reason why they're successful, but it's just sort of, it's like that different level of like, they're just sort of fun, and you don't feel like there's any sort of like agenda or anything being like shoved in your face. It's just like it's a fun action movie with really good actors.
I agree with Steven here. What makes it different from just like turn your brain off and have fun, kind of like a Transformers movie, I'd say, is more so like that. Transformers is like a way more like, here's a bunch of noise on the screen and in your ears, right?
CGI and
right, and it's fun. Like you turn that one, I think you can really turn your brain off. But what's not in Transformers that is in Pirates of the Caribbean, just like Steven said, is that special sauce, which is Johnny Depp and what he brought to the table there, which is why he became such an iconic character and why the series became so beloved. It wasn't just like a random, whatever action, whatever swashbuckling series.
I think I'd actually read some stuff of saying that like the Disney executives at first didn't like the way that Johnny Depp wanted to portray the character of his sort of little bit flamboyant, always kind of drunk, staggering around. Like just the way that he made the character. At first, the Disney execs were sort of like, ooh, like I don't know about this. I mean, now it's like, you can't have the character any other way. Like,
yeah, he made his character way more like a Looney Tunes like character. And the first person they wanted for Jack Sparrow was Hugh Jackman. So imagine how different that would have been.
A completely different movie.
Yeah. I know.
Well, we don't have to imagine,
but not that would not have worked.
We have Van Helsing as evidence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's done other better movies.
Of course he has, of course. But Van Helsing is a perfect example of him being tongue in cheek, and I don't think he's supposed to be tongue in cheek. Well, I mean, maybe we could talk to Ryan Reynolds about tongue in cheek with with Hugh Jackman.
Well, you're saying there with
I think I have a clip for that too. What do I have? I'm dropping the ball here. Oh man. Rigid security.
That works.
Van Helsing back in the day was like a trash movie, and everyone's like, oh, this is so bad. Oh, you had such great potential here. If that came out today, you'd be like, this is a good turn off your brain movie. Like, look how much our standards have changed over the years now.
Far, so fucking far.
I think there were a handful of movies that came out around that era that were probably good movies in their own right, but they suffered from the bad CGI of the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, they definitely were like putting a ton of effort into, because that was like right when the Star Wars and stuff.
So bad in some of those movies.
Yeah, and you know what? I get tired of this, and I say it on my channel a lot, that I really don't care to talk about like politics or woke stuff, because I really do feel like you can make an amazing movie that has an agenda that I totally disagree with, but I'm hooked in by the characters, the plot. I can see myself in these characters. Right. Yeah. I could, there could be a story out there about a trans, whatever, fill in the blank everywhere down the line where I shouldn't agree with them or see myself in their shoes. But if the story's told right, you can sympathize and you can actually see yourself 100%. In there. Right. And you can, they touch these universal themes in our lives of being the other, being outcast, stuff like that, yeah, I just don't feel like today stories really do that often. It feels like they go to the lowest common denominator versus universal themes that hook you in and make you sympathetic and just great writing, which is, I mean, it's such a bad way to like criticize some person, like make your writing better. But that's the best way to describe it.
That's no shit, dude.
Because what I think is happening is that a lot of times, like these people are putting their agenda before the story. So, like you're saying, it's like if you just write a good story, you'll have a good story. But if your focus is pushing something and then the story is secondary, it's going to suffer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, it's this lack of criticism in the writing room. I think that's really becoming a huge problem. And I think the biggest evidence for it is George Lucas and his theater of yes men while filming the first three prequels, the prequels. Mm-hmm. He had nobody pressing him to think
no one was
harder.
telling him, "Ooh, maybe rethink that," or maybe that's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
And I want to remind everybody that the film The Graduate was an agenda-driven film of its day, but it's still good because they thought it all through. They had top-notch actors. They cared more about the script than the visuals. Dustin Hoffman was not supposed to play that role. It was supposed to be Robert Redford or something like Robert Redford.
Interesting.
And placing him in the role was shifting the religious center of the film, because here's this, they literally refer to it in the commentary track as this genetic offshoot, because his dad is 6'5", right? His mom is like 5'10", right? They're both like very Caucasian. And here's this Dustin Hoffman laying in the pool being a badass, right? And the film just generates from there, where he's basically a loser the whole movie. But that was an agenda-driven film, and his appearance at the Oscars was an agenda-driven event.
As
and
all
yet
of Hollywood
that's
usually
still
is.
a classic. So it's not like we haven't been doing this for decades.
Right, yeah. And I think that Roman and I have kind of talked about this a little bit behind the scenes, and we talked about maybe bringing it up on a live stream at one point. I don't know, whatever. But not to get too deep into politics, but just a brief mention of, we kind of talked about like why creative people, whether in Hollywood, whether musicians, whether whatever, why creative people tend to be like so far hard left liberal. And the general answer is we don't really know. But that's, I mean, that doesn't surprise me when Hollywood has an agenda. It's there. And like you said, it's been in movies for decades, but it used to be more subtle, where you could still enjoy the story regardless of what the agenda was. Now it's just like, it's the agenda first, story second.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're rolling it out before the film is even finished.
Yeah.
That's really becoming a huge problem. They're
when they're not talking about the movie, they're talking about the diversity in the movie. That's how you know you've got a shit movie, right?
All their buzzwords.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and who would know? Because we've already been calculated to take a certain side. That this is like my growing issue with some of the commentary on YouTube too, is that I see sides being drafted in the sands, and the people that are deciding what side you're supposed to be taking are the same people you're fighting against.
Yeah.
You know, we're being handed a plot line that we didn't want to talk about in the first place. We're being blamed in the press as a certain character, and we're fulfilling the role. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I try to like as much as I can avoid whatever talking about it, because it also feels like you have this constant like loop of just like, what am I supposed to do? It's like, okay, at the end of the day, I can't really do anything. Like, you really no control over it. It's just culture. Just live your best life. And if anything, I've tried to describe my wife whenever she's like, "What are you doing in that office all day on YouTube?" Which, you know, remind me I have to get divorced. But I'll tell her, like, you know, me and my friends, we try to, at least as the Titanic is sinking, have a little levity on it, you know, like we can all be freaking out, going for the life rafts, but you know what? I'm just going to sit there and smoke one with the boys real quick as the Titanic of our culture goes down, a little bit. Just like, hey, let's have a little fun here. Because you know what? As much as I want to scream and yell, I'm not going to be able to turn this Titanic around. I'm not going to be able to, unsink this ship. I'll be pointing and laughing at the guys that are playing the violins and critiquing them and stuff like that. So I know that's
at the end of the day, it's like you can make your opinion known, and then you can speak with your dollar signs, and then that's about the beginning and end of it. That's about all you can do. But yeah, these people that feel like they're fighting this big cause, it's like, well, you're just really kind of stressing yourself out by obsessing over this all day, every day. Like, we can talk about it, you can put it out there, but it's like when it's just the all day, every day, it's exhausting at that point. Like,
yeah, that's what first attracted me to Flaccid's channel. Was the levity.
Words that have probably never been spoken in history. That's what attracted me to Flacid.
And that one play on terms that you did, where you took the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and the current agendas in Supreme Court, and you flipped the whole script on it. That was just a golden moment in history. I swear, God.
Well, no one will ever watch a video. Reva v. Wade is overturned, but yeah, we found a way to link the two things together, and I'm glad Steven's able to watch, because it was a lot of fun to record, and I just had the idea in my head. I'm like, oh, we got to do something, Gator. We got to do something with this. It's too good, and all of a sudden it comes out, it's like 100 views. I'm like, God damn it!
Really?
I don't know. It's not
we've
that
all
much.
had those moments where you think you put out something really brilliant, and you're like, why isn't that video performing? I don't know.
The masses.
Yep.
Well, anyways, guys, we're just a little bit shy of 2 hours here, but I think we've kind of covered everything Christopher Nolan and then some. Do we have any final thoughts or any final things we want to plug before we take off? Why don't we just kind of go around the room? We'll go to Roman first. What do you have coming up, or what are your final thoughts on our topic?
If you haven't watched this movie, please do, so that your friends don't make fun of you.
And The Prestige,
which I still need to watch. I got to watch Snatch tonight because I got to deal with the UK folks on Wednesday. So I got things I got to do. And then we have our show. Actually, I have a show. Well, Wednesday. I have my show on Wednesday at noon on PJ Maybe. And that's where we're talking about the movie Snatch. And then Thursday we have our normal show at 5 Pacific Standard, where we're going to finish off our conversation talking about the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, and our 5 favorite movies from each of those decades. And hopefully we can actually fit it in this time. But there's a joke there. I'm just leaving it.
And his channel and socials and stuff are linked in the video.
I'm on with PJ Maybe and that crew again at noon Pacific Standard, and that's just kind of a free-range nerd talk show. And that's what I got right now. I've enjoyed this. Thank you for being here,
real
guys.
quick that Max has my back on The Prestige. So there you go, Roman.
All right. Got it.
See that.
But yeah, so I think I did my due diligence ahead of time that everyone on here, all their socials and YouTubes and stuff are linked in the description of this video. So like Roman, Steven, Flacid, all you guys should be in there. So Steven, you have any last thoughts or anything you want to plug before we take off?
No, nothing in particular. Nothing in particular.
All right.
Just me being me.
All right, cool. And then Flacid, awesome meeting you in person at the San Diego meetup recently, and it was even better finally having you on the channel. So same thing, final thoughts, anything you want to plug?
Well, thank you for having me on. I love this movie. I love talking Christopher Nolan. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. I think him and Denis Villeneuve, who does Dune, Sicario, Rival, Blade Runner 2049. Anyways, those two directors right now, I think, are my 2 favorite directors currently in Hollywood right now. So I love talking about them and just quality, great films that I've seen through my life. So I love being on this stream. Glad I could meet you guys in San Diego Comic-Con. That was so much fun because you don't know how it is to meet people, like how much of a persona people put on, when you're on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I'm the same person you meet in person as I am in because I really feel like
and we just toned down you right are now. And we hope the same as well, because I just speaking for myself, I don't think I'm putting on any kind of persona. I just turn the camera on and let everyone see all the weird technical difficulties and flaws and whatnot. So that's right. We're just here being real.
Yeah. And that's what there's currency in that right now is sincerity. A lot of people put on, kind of a, you have to get to perform a little bit, but to a degree where you become fake is I think where you lose a lot of people. And
for sure,
kind of like that. There's a guy in the chat that does this a lot. I think is MVP. He still hasn't seen Top Gun, which is I don't know what he's doing right now. But well, thanks again for having me on. Happy birthday, Roman. I'm gonna figure out a way to crowdfund some spankings for you because I don't think I'll be able to make it out there. So we'll try to figure out a way to get those birthday spankings head your way. Also, there probably should be some extra ones tacked on because you haven't watched so many amazing movies. So
apparently, I didn't realize
we won't talk about all the movies I haven't seen.
And then tomorrow I'm gonna have a live stream. We're just kind of like me and my co-host Gator are just kind of shooting the shit. We're talking about kind of random topics right now. Next week we're gonna do a Hulk comparison because She-Hulk will be coming out next week, and we're gonna do an Ang Lee Hulk versus the Incredible Hulk and just talk about it. And if you like my kind of content, that kind of humor, we'll be over there on 11 a.m. Central Time. So I don't know. Was that 9 a.m.
That's 3 a.m. Pacific Standard.
yeah, there it is. So we'll be over there talking about that stuff. Tomorrow we're talking about why people need to stop crying at Wakanda Forever trailer because I don't know why people are so obsessed with Black Panther and Chadwick Boseman. He's touched people very deeply, and then we're also going to shit on Mark Ruffalo in the cinematic universe because he's actually probably the worst actor in there by far. I don't even refer to him as Bruce Banner. He's Mark Ruffalo. He's Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk.
I've come to the conclusion that everyone that's upset about Black Panther, if they had recast Chadwick Boseman, people would have been upset. They kill off his character and pass the mantle on to his sister. People are upset. They're not going to be happy. No one's going to be happy.
I literally don't give a fuck. I have no fucks for this movie.
There was no winning here. People were going to be mad no matter what. And it's like, whatever.
Well, that's a lesson for life right now. You can't please everybody. So you just please yourself, right? Just whatever you think is the best decision. Well, do it in a PG way, everybody. Don't just go pleasing yourself anytime you want to. Unless you're in San Diego, you can do that.
Please come visit the site.
Unless you're like Roman and you have a fan hooked up to underneath your desk for self-pleasure throughout the stream. But it was great being on here. I wish I want to do more of these. I want to do with more people. I need to have Steven. I need to have you guys on, and you have Steven Ransom on. Steven Ransom, we have an idea. We're going to hopefully do a smash or pass of sitcom dads throughout the years.
That would be fun, man.
Steven came up with.
That's great.
You could just keep going back in history on that one too.
Yep, decades.
But yeah, seriously, this was so much fun having you guys on. Thank you so much for being here. Steven, Flaccid, I know Zach's already took off, but you guys are welcome back anytime you ever want to be back on the channel. My channel, Roman's channel. Like this was a ton of fun. So I think we had a great conversation, good panel tonight. You guys enjoy the rest of your Monday and the rest of your week as we're signing off.
Night chat.
See ya.
See ya. Nope. Hold on.
Be excellent to each other.